But when the urban development going so fast, it also bring many of the problems like air pollution and disaster prevention, and also monatomic loading, air pollution, traffic issues, and come with the fast urban development. And when we look back about 300 years ago, when everything built in their local material, local culture, local technology, and every single city, you can see clear identification of their nature system and culture and also history. But during the current development, and all the new towns look like the same, and also have the same issue with ecology development being disturbed. But about 100 years ago, in early 1890, Mr. Ebenezer Howard has the book about the garden city of tomorrow. And he has a famous sentence to talk about the splendid possibility of new civilization based on service to the community and not on self-interest. At present, the dominant move, which means the sustainable ideas, is to service for the community, for the city, for everyone, but also for the future, not for our own short looking and in front of us the benefit for people. And a very famous quote from Gandhi is, "The world has enough for everyone's needs, but not enough for everyone's greed." And also during the time, same as Mr. Howard, we all know the Frederick Law Olmsted built Central Park in New York, and also planned and built Emerald Necklace as a green park system in Boston, and which integrates the landscape architecture, ecology system, and also greenway system, all together with urban development to build a great example as a pilot project, as a green city, ecological city, and also build the harmony relationship between urban development and the natural system. And after that, in 1966-67, Ian McHarg published a famous book, Design with Nature. In another book, and quoted his writing, and he said, "Here, the landscape architect, like the empiricist doctor, found a land in ill health and brought it into good heart and to the beauty." And in China, about in 1999, and Mr. Qian Xuezhen, a very famous scientist in China, and he started the concept mentioned about Shanxi City. In one of his letters, he said, "Is that possible to make a Chinese landscape poetry, classical Chinese garden and architecture, and landscape painting in a whole for creating concept of Shanxi City?" And during that time, this is the first time the Shanxi City appeared. And almost the same time, Mr. Wu Liangyong is a professor in Tsinghua University Architecture School. He published a book called The Science of Human Settlements. And then in his book, he emphasized on the integration of architecture, urban planning, and landscape architecture with other disciplines together to build a harmony relationship, especially mountain, water, and town and human development should be respect each other and integrate each other. More recently, United Nations have this very famous sustainability 17 categories, and with 3 important aspects. ecological, social, and economic development is balanced. And looking back couple thousand years in China urban development, many artists, scholars writing about nature and try to build up a harmony living condition with nature, especially for traditional Chinese gardens, are learned from those poetry and paintings. And in Tang Dynasty, the very famous person, scholar, Tao Yuanming, had famous poetry and writing, and talk about peach blossom spring, and describe a very ideal society with people, harmony relationship with painting. And many paintings in history described his writing. Another concept in China in very, very long time called feng shui described the people's selecting ideal location in south of the mountain, close to the water, and build up this good relationship between mountain and water. And that's a concept of feng shui, which consider many of the ecology, geology, wind system, sunshine, orientation, all together to build a harmony relationship between the human settlements and the natural system. This is a painting of the city called Jinhua in Zhejiang province, South China, exactly explained by painting a location of old town, traditional town, built south of the mountain, close to the water. But the people should pay attention on the shape of the city wall. It's not a square, it's not a circle, it's not a geometry, it's a natural form, followed by the topography and the landform. It's like a part of the Chinese garden, very free flow with the natural topography and the natural system, and the picturesque with aesthetic presence, beautifully looking. And in this kind of background, cultural, spiritual, and ecological background, we created this new diagram for Century City, which is borrow the Taiji diagram to have the dynamic balance between natural and human development. And following, I will use two case studies to explain how we integrate this Century City concept with planning design and urban design with a large-scale project. The case study one called Comprehensive Planning for International Horticultural Exhibition 2019 in Beijing. We started participate this project by international competition. This is the early competition master plan we just participated. With several versions of changes, we were the winner of the competition, and then our team taking lead of the whole master plan of this 9.6 square kilometer, very large scale development with expo, with buildings, transportation, and many expo site, landscaping, all together as a master plan system. And one of the reasons we win this project is to try to integrate new development with the existing mountain, water, site, ecological, and urban conditions. So I like this title for today's conference called Reorientation. And in this project, first thing we started is not the project within the boundary, the site, and the 9.6 square kilometers. We look broadly and as a catchment, as a surrounding mountain water system, look big, look as a regional environment to study this site, surrounded by big mountains. On the south of the site, we can see Great Wall called the Badaling Great Wall. And the north side, we have Guanmao Mountain and the Haitou Mountain. and the whole water system goes to the top of the mountain called the Guishui River. On top of the mountain, there's a reservoir called the Baihepu Reservoir. Inside the reservoir, the water quality we were called level 2, which is drinkable, very clear water. But when the water flowing down, going through agriculture, village, town, got being more and more polluted. And when the water gets to the Guanding Reservoir, it's almost a class 5, which is an untouched, dirty water. So when we look at the whole system, we have a suggestion how to purify the water, build up the ecological setback, build up water treatment plants for villages and the city and the towns, and help to clean the water for the system. And also the red color is the project site, and the yellow color is the town of Yanjing. So we need to study the project site with the city development, and also the transportation, people, activities, events with the city together. Integrate the project with the urban settlements, and also integrate the city with the nearby Guishui River, the water, and the South Mountain and the North Mountain. So we use new technology, the GIS and the 3D modeling system to do this called visual analysis. From project site, look at the South Mountain, North Mountain, and also look at the Guishui River, find the best spot, use landscape as orientation, and to build up 2 major axes. And one is towards the mountain top called the Guanmao Mountain, another towards Haituo Mountain, and build up the corridor through the city with the mountain and the water, which is the ecological connection corridor. And this is the whole master plan with the urban city and the project site. And here are the zoning analysis to separate the project to several zones. And this diagram shows 2 axes, one called the International Horticultural Axis from the second entrance towards the Haituo Mountain, and another blue color landscape horticulture axis from the entrance 1 to Guanmao Mountain. So we started from the visual corridor between mountain, water, and the site, and then insert the program into the site, and insert the major building facilities on the site between the landscape. So that's called the landscape and the mountain and the water first, and the ecological first, and then building and the roads and the transportation. Follow the Guishui River. We are having a more detailed design for enriched biodiversity, build up the habitat recreation zone. This is the early master planning. This is a diagram for several zones. And we take a site called the Guishui River Ecological Recreation Belt, and to have this landscape design into this detailed design level for a smaller site. On this site, we protect more than 50,000 existing trees, especially old trees. Even with the new development, we are not cutting down the old trees and try to build a wall to protect those trees. Follow the river, we need to restore the ecological system. It's been damaged for a long time. So for the ecological planning, we have a habitat design to enrich regional biodiversity. So here, the red color is our construction design, detailed design zone, which are about 60 hectares in size. Most of the area are wetland area. And this is called the Nanhu Road, is the water protection dam. And on the water side of this whole area, been flooded almost every year, but a short time, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. And most of the species are reeds. wetland, and also single species of popular trees. They are planted in 1950s, 1960s, already getting old. When we started to do the detailed design for this project, not only consider the recreation purpose and put the roads and the plaza and the hard design for this area. Everything we invited ecological professor from US University Oregon. His name is Bart Johnson on the site to study the site with us. With several teams related to the water, ecology, biodiversity, and animals, with several teams, we work together to produce this ecological restoration project. First, to study the wetland and woodland and the Guishui River and the boundary between the wetland and the river, how to deal with the flat terrain, abandoned trench, and remnant along the river with trees, shrubs, popular trees, reeds, and grassland. So this is the existing pathway. And also we studied the birds migration paths through this area. And the birds being discovered in this whole area, how many kinds of birds. So the team of ecology discovered 95 species, including 70 species of birds, 14 species butterfly, 8 species of dragonfly. And based on the existing condition, we try to restore and to build a more rich biodiversity as a habitat study. One example is because of the flooding, some popular trees being died, drowned in the water, and right now only leave dead trunks. And the client as a host, Beijing, called the Landscape Bureau, asked us to clean up all those dead trees. They think they are looks ugly. And after studying the ecological system, and Professor Bart Johnson have a good suggestion. He says there's many insects grow up in those dead trees, and woodpeckers as birds come here to pick up those insects and make this area from ecological habitat point of view more rich and more lively. And he suggests us to keep those dead trees. So we bring this idea to the Planning Bureau, talk to the clients, and got a permission to protect and keep those dead trees on site as a part of the ecology, part of the landscape. Another thing we need to do is to transform these single species popular forest to a more rich habitat. And after we draw the plan, the trees like this, very close to each other, but a single species. So first step is to reduce 50%, thin it up of the popular trees, and then break up to several windows to make a larger space, and identify, research the local forest combination habitats of planting materials, got a name list of the natural habitat planting of trees, bring more different trees into the site, consider both ecological condition, local the material, and also the looking for landscape, integrated many kinds of different species, some for birds, some for fruits, some for flowers for looking, and good color system, and try to make this very rich biodiversity landscape step by step, and also identify how to achieve the target system over time. So we need to have a timeline design. And for the water boundary, we have different depths of water and also planting material related to the species for like a butterfly. We selected nectar plants to attract the butterfly and the bees. And we use different reeds and cacti and other plant material to keep the habitats for the dragonfly. And we build up this kind of system and habitats for frog. And then finally, we got this kind of rich habitat environment for nature, for animal, and for environment. As an island, you can see there's no bridge and walkway in this island, and the people can only walk around this water. So this island is designed for natural habitats. Another case study here is the landscape ecological master plan of Qingdao Sino-German Eco Park. Between government of German and Qingdao government select 30 square kilometer near the ocean, beautiful landscape for this kind of eco park. After 5 years development, they want to give this park another identification called a park city and bring the landscape and ecological system to this already being developed site. And with the boundary red line and the size is about 30 square kilometers, and ask us to consider landscape ecology and park-like city design. This is the given topic for us. After we visit the site, we raise a question. We need to consider the ecology system not within the ownership boundary, the red line. We need to consider the whole catchment, whole watershed, from top of the mountain to the edge of the ocean. So we circulate the area 180 square kilometer, almost 200 square kilometer for study. But the client says it's beyond my control. So I'm the owner of this site, only can give you the money to do the landscape design, ecological design for 30 square kilometers. So we asked him, can we talk to the Urban Planning Bureau or the mayor and the people who can consider and think about the bigger picture, regional picture for landscape and ecology. And then he introduced us to meet the people in Urban Planning Bureau and even the vice mayor who are in charge of the Qingdao city construction and urban planning. After several meetings, they agreed our proposal and paid us from the city to do the large area ecological study. Consider mountain water catchment, watershed, and with much bigger scale, with visual quality and rainwater, stormwater management, agricultural site, river site. Use GIS to do the analysis, build up this kind of corridor, connect the ocean side with the mountain. Several big ecological corridor being established, designed, planned, and beyond the boundary of the land ownership, the control, connecting ocean, river, mountain all together. And after we build up the big system, and then we come back to the site to do the landscape ecological corridor, the park system, and also zoning for the development, research, and office area, commercial area, and living quarters with this kind of ecological framework. This is after we modified. This is a new green system and a visual connection corridor and a park system, walkway and urban waterfront, mountain water, stormwater management system, and a pilot project as a park. And here are several park design as example. So after this project, we noticed the problem. How can we deal with the current issue, which is several disciplines are in their own different silos. So urban planning design, engineering, scientific research, public participation are in separate fellows, and the government cannot put them together. So our proposal is to integrate different disciplines: urban planning, landscape architecture, water system, transportation, environmental science, architecture, geology, and other disciplines, and bring them to a roundtable format, work together as one team. So this is called horizontal. People can working on the same time, same room as one team. Another system we need to build up is we call a timeline system. From early proposal to pre-feasibility study, spatial planning, schematic design, construction, implementation, operation management, and then final benefit evaluation. This is the separation of silos by time, by phases, by the version. We also need to integrate all those aspects together as one team. So we need to team with the horizontal team and the vertical team to create this called multi-dimensional teamwork, to have the people all work together in collaboration way, integration way, and cooperation with many different teams, follow the timeline to reach to the goal, to achieve the goal of sustainable urban design as a century city. So we need to all work together through practice, learn from a good project, learn from practice to reach the target with those keywords: integration, synthesis, harmony, systematic, collaboration, and continuity, holistic, dynamic, poetic, picturesque as our goal. Thank you very much for listening. This is my talk today. Thank you.